Wonderful day. Welcome to drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. And today I want to talk about this influencer that I saw who basically said that Black men have given up on Black women. And I'm going to kind of challenge that assumption a little bit and kind of give you my assessment on just all of that, and also explain how the state of Black relationships is deeply connected to the state of Black economics. So get comfortable, buckle up your seatbelt. We're going to get started on drboystv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I want to say hello to everybody. I hope you guys are having a great day. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, wherever you're from, whatever you believe. I believe it with you, and I love you, and I respect you. And so anyway, I wanted to come in and just talk to you guys real quick on Christmas Day. And I hope that you spend some time this Christmas, hopefully investing in your kids by giving them some sort of gift that goes beyond just a toy, right? Toys are just not the best gifts because toys don't last that long. Kids throw them away in about 2 or 3 months. But if you buy your kids something like shares of stock, then you're giving them a gift that will last a lifetime. If you give them something like economic intelligence, then they will do well for a very long time. And in fact, if you want to go take a look, we have a whole Black business school for children at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. So if you'd like to get your child ahead of the curve, feel free to go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. There's a massive discount on the platform if that is of interest to you. Now, today I want to talk about this interesting social media influencer that I saw. Her name, she goes by the name Dee Dee. And I don't know her. I don't know anything about her. I don't have anything against her. But she did say something that really, really got my attention that I thought was worth kind of discussing as I was just kind of scrolling through the internet streets and kind of seeing what people are talking about. I saw this video where she kind of seems to be making the argument that Black men are just done with Black women. That Black men just, that Black women are just not worth our time anymore. And that it's that we've moved on because we're tired of the modern woman. We're tired of feminism. We're tired of women getting on our nerves. We're tired of all these other things. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to sit here and just tell you the truth right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a feminist. I think feminism is, I believe in equal rights for everybody, right? 100%. But I'm not a big fan of what feminism does in terms of getting women so politically driven that they forget about things that are going to make them happy. Give me a yes if you can understand the balance here. Give me a yes if you understand the nuance of this conversation. I'm not a person who believes that you should be running through life reminding men how much you don't need them, because eventually the man's going to leave. He's going to say, well, if you don't need me, then fine, good luck. I'll show up for sex and dinner, and that's going to be it, right? So give me a yes if you understand that maybe in these conversations about relationships on online, we need more balance, we need more nuance, because the reality is that we have these extremes, and I don't like the extremes because if you want to know why I, as a finance professor, will be talking about relationship topics, number one, my wife is a relationship therapist, by the way. She does actually see couples and clients and individuals and families and stuff like that. I'll put her website up here if you want to go check out what she does. But then the second reason is that there is a deep, well-documented connection between the state of the Black family and the state of Black economics. Give me a yes if you're following what I'm saying. Give me a yes if you understand this, because I want to make this clear so people don't think I'm trying to become a relationship guru. I'm not trying to be Derek Jackson, who will go out here and tell women whatever they want to hear just to make them feel better. I'm not trying to be Kevin Samuels, who unfortunately was a smart man. I had nothing against Kevin. Kevin did a whole video about me. He was very nice, very polite. I have nothing against his brother, but I didn't think his conversation was as balanced as it needed to be. I don't think anybody's ever doing you any favors by constantly telling you that it's always somebody else's fault. I think accountability is a word that all of us need to embrace. Accountability. If you are a person who's only using the word accountability in reference to other people, then that right there tells me that you shouldn't be using the word accountability. Give me a yes if you understand. If you can't use the word accountability first in reference to yourself, then you shouldn't be using that word. Because so a lot of people run around here talking about accountability. I need women to be accountable. I need men to be accountable. All this other stuff. These are not accountable people. These are people that are like, I don't need to be accountable, but I need you to be accountable. And the reason I bring this topic up is because your economics is suffering because your families are suffering, right? So what I need you to understand is that black wealth suffers because black love suffers, right? Do you follow what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? I wrote a whole book about this topic back when I was on the faculty of Syracuse University called Financial Lovemaking. You can get a copy of the book at drboycebooks.com. And in this book, Financial Lovemaking, I talked extensively about the link between money and love. It started with my curiosity over the fact that I didn't understand how suddenly when I was making $100,000 a year, I suddenly became much more handsome than I was when I was broke. I didn't understand that when I was making six figures, how suddenly my jokes became funny. I became good marriage material. I was suddenly this wonderful catch. When there was all this time where I was sitting there just waiting to be caught. I was back when I was broke. I wanted somebody to catch me. I was like the fish sitting there, like, hey, you want to catch me in your net? And I wasn't really getting caught the way I wanted to. I would, at least not by the women that I wanted. I mean, I had my time, my experiences in my 20s, but the quality and the number of women that were interested in me in my 30s, once I made over 100,000 a year, and then in my 40s when I was a millionaire, was far greater than it was when I was in my 20s. I did not understand it. I was really curious about it just from a scientific standpoint, and so I wrote a whole book about it because I did research on it. And what I really found when I was writing Financial Lovemaking is that there is an inherent connection. There's an inherent attraction women have to men that have the ability to provide financial security. You cannot really get away from that. You cannot get away from the fact that women are as attracted to wealth and power as men are attracted to long hair and big booties, right? Not every man likes long hair. Not every man likes big booties, but y'all know that the girl with the long hair and the big booty is going to get a lot of attention, just like the man who's got $1 million in the bank and who's president of the United States or whatever is going to be considered to be the sexiest man around. Barack Obama was listed in some magazine as one of the sexiest men in America. And y'all really think that he was on that list when he was so broke he couldn't afford a rental car? Y'all think he was on that list when nobody knew who he was? You think Barack Obama was on that list when he couldn't even beat Bobby Rush in a local election? Bobby Rush beat that ass like he stole something. Do y'all think Barack Obama was on the sexiest man's list when he was broke, struggling, and nobody knew who he was? No, he got on that list when he became the president of the United States, the most powerful human being on the planet, arguably one of the most powerful anyway, getting out of limos with his sunglasses on, looking like Mr. Joe Cool, right? So what I'm saying to you is that when we talk about money and relationships, I'm going to tell you this. Most of the conversations that I hear are a little bit frustrating because they're just not based on knowledge and information. They're not based on science and understanding. And so what I try to do, what I really want to do is I hope we can have what my brother 19 Keys talks about. He talks about high level conversations. I love 19 Keys. I met him one time. I like the guy a lot. I like the idea of having high level conversations about black love and relationships, because one thing you got to understand is that this is probably the most important conversation you'll ever have as a community. This is your family. You can't have wealth in a community with no families. You do know that, right? You do know that you will never ever see the black community rise economically with a whole community full of babies, mamas, and broke baby daddies who are running from child support court. Give me a yes or no. Do you understand this? You do understand that until you get your family conversation straight, none of your other conversations are going to work. Give me a yes if you also understand how much work was put into we read Dr. Claude Anderson books every Wednesday night in the Black Business School. You can join for free, by the way. Go to blackkeystogreatness.com. It's a free class. You can enroll for free. We do this every Wednesday night at 8:30, Powernomics training. And if you've been going to class, if you've been listening, if you've been paying attention, you will know that there was a reason why white supremacists worked extremely hard to break up black families. You do understand that there's a reason they had laws that said black people cannot congregate as a collective, as a group, that you can't work together. You do understand that there's a reason why you have the whole Willie Lynch protocol to keep black men and black women hating each other, right? So I'm going to tell you like this, and I'm not really here to be mean to anybody or pick on anybody, anything like that, but I have to give credit where it's due. I have to speak on it, but I'm going to try to, I don't want to speak negatively. So there's this woman, Dee Dee, who I saw on social media who did and again, Didi, I'm not picking on you, nothing. I just saw you on here and I saw this conversation. I didn't like this headline. This headline is that black men are not looking back. And this headline gives this impression that black men are just done with black women. Black men are just tired of the nonsense. Black men ain't tolerating your BS no more. Black men done moved on. Because what are we moving on to? Are we moving on like Jonathan Majors? Is that what we're doing? Is that what we're doing, y'all? Did we all decide that we want to do the Jonathan Majors protocol, where a white woman can accuse us of breaking her fingernail and get us locked up and sent to jail? Is that what we did? Is that what we doing now? Is that where we at now? Did we move on to the Jonathan Majors protocol? Or we trying to go get some lady that wants to marry us for a green card or whatever? Like, seriously, I'm not saying that this happens all the time. I'm just saying that, this idea that the grass is strictly greener on the other side and that black women as a collective or black men as a collective should be left behind is overly simplistic and very dangerous thinking. And this is propaganda. It's propaganda. The reason it's propaganda, let me explain. Judge Joe Brown talks about propaganda a lot. When he came on this platform, he explained how propaganda works. One thing he said about propaganda is that when you have a headline like this, like black men are not looking back, what you're doing is you're giving the impression that everybody's doing it. You're giving the impression that this is just the new wave. They call that social proof. You're giving this impression that shoot, if you a black man and you trying to marry a black woman, you behind on the times, brother. You late, man. You doing that's so 2017, right? That's what you're doing. And so I think that if you were to make that a more appropriate conversation, you would say some black men are not looking back. Or you would say some black women are tired of black men. And because here's the thing. So I'm gonna play a clip here of one of her episodes where she was sort of playing what someone said and then kind of giving an explanation. And remember, this all links back to the economics. That's why I'm talking about this, because you cannot have your economics without having your family. So I want y'all to hear some of this, and then I want to kind of explain why some of this rhetoric is very dangerous in the black community, why you got to be really careful in terms of how you talk about black women, especially because remember, every black man who has an issue with black women, you really are talking about your mother. Every black woman who has an issue with black men, you are talking about your father. And so when you're talking, I think you have to be really careful about that, because you're ultimately, when you're talking about your mother and you're talking about your father, you're really talking about yourself. So does anybody understand? Give me a yes if you follow how sometimes an intense, extreme hatred or disdain for black women and an extreme hatred and disdain for black men is really a disdain for yourself. You do understand that me hating black women is really self-hate. Me hating, or if I'm a black woman that hates black men, I really hate myself because I hate the community I come from. I hate the people. Ain't no Hispanics taking you in like that. Ain't no Arabs taking your black ass in like that. Ain't no Jewish people taking your black ass in like that. Where are you gonna go? You're gonna just be an orphan floating around the world, looking like Jonathan Majors, hoping that Miss Sally's gonna treat you better than the black woman. I personally think that's very dangerous rhetoric, and I think that we have to really be thoughtful about this so that we don't end up talking out of the side of our necks. We sound like a bunch of crazy people, which really we are actually. If you study, my wife has a certification in trauma, and after talking to her about that, I really learned that a lot of what you really see is you see trauma, undiagnosed, untreated trauma, which is actually why in the Black Business School, we created the first ever Black Financial Therapy Department, where we partner with the best Black therapists to get to the psychological barriers that are blocking us from building Black wealth. So the biggest barrier that I have seen so far for 2023 and beyond is undiagnosed, untreated trauma as a significant barrier to your ability to build the kinds of institutions in your community that are going to help you build wealth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this clip for you. I'm going to explain what my concerns are. Then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to give you something that you're not really going to see on the internet very often, which is constructive steps to help you build the kind of family and institution that you want, to pick the right kind of woman, pick the right kind of man, put yourself in the right kind of situation so that you're not on the internet complaining that all Black women do this, all Black men do that. All Black men don't do shit. All Black women don't do shit. Stop that. Stop that whole like all Black men are like this, all Black women, we tired of Black women. That's silly. That is the silliest. That right there tells me that you're wrong, because Black men and Black women are not alike. You know, the white people are the only ones who think that about us. They're the only ones who think all black men want to be gangster rappers or all black women want to be Cardi B, right? The people who are not black think that black people should not be thinking this way. So anyway, let me play this clip, and then I'm going to kind of give an assessment. Hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Here we go.
Brittany and I were out at a restaurant, and there were a group of men there. No one approached us. This was a younger crowd of guys. Nobody approached us. Like, we were just sitting at the bar, and we were just like, oh, so nobody's going to come over here and say.
Were they looking in your direction, or were they not even paying you guys attention?
I'm going to say something controversial.
Okay.
It's a very Dallas thing. Coming from Atlanta, to see so many black men here not be interested in black women, because they were talking
Oh, they did.
to
So it was other women at the bar.
Rebecca,
So we were walking out, and I was like, well, I'm just going to say something to them. So I was like, what are y'all here for? They're like, oh, reunion.
like dismissed, like I've answered your question. But Rebecca and Claire were getting full engagement,
at the
drinks,
bar.
whole, and this is like a crowd of probably like 10 plus black men.
All right, so what do you guys think about what they had to say? Now, they're basically saying this is something that they noticed in Dallas, but there are women all over the country saying or speaking out on how black men are not approaching them, how they, these men are, are checked out. They're not really, approaching them, trying to get their attention or trying to date them. And so there are a lot of women who have the same complaints as these two women here. There are a lot of women who are voicing their opinions on why, asking why are black men not giving them any attention, or men aren't the way they used to be, and men are just different. So there are a lot of women who are complaining about this, and they act as if they're confused as to why a lot of black men have checked out. So now that men have taken the hint and they have been given the signal that a lot of these modern women don't want them approaching them, they don't want you to look at them, they don't want you to talk to them. If you ain't 6 feet, 6 pack, 6 figures, they don't want to have anything to do with you. So now that men have gotten the notice and they're saying, to hell with y'all. We're not approaching y'all. We don't care anymore. We're going to do our own thing. Y'all do what y'all want to do. Now you have women coming around saying, hey, men are only talking to Rebecca, and they're talking to Claire and all these white women. And they're not even batting an eye at us. They're not even trying to have a conversation with us. And now they're confused. Well, you can really, blame that on feminism and independence. Those are a few of the things that have caused black men to walk away, because you have a society of black women who have openly spewed out a lot of their hatred and a lot of what they think about black men. And also, they've been very vocal on the fact that they don't need them. They're dusties. They're useless. They're too broke. There are all of these negative things. And so that is part of the reason why these men are saying, hey, if we're all of this to you guys, then we're just going to move and go our way. We're not going to even deal with y'all. We're not going to approach y'all. We're not going to try to talk to you because we know you don't want us. We're not worth anything to y'all. So we're going to keep it moving. I hear more and more men saying, look.
Okay. So I thought that was interesting, right? So this, and by the way, if you're listening on Spotify, if you don't, and also if you have Spotify, look up my name, Boyce Watkins, on Spotify. You can find this podcast on Spotify as well. We usually post content on Spotify every morning, and so here's the thing with that clip. You first start off hearing from these women that are basically saying that they went to a bar and they saw some men, and the men didn't like black women. They were dating women who were not black. And first off, that's anecdotal information, right? That's one situation. That's one group of men. I don't know what that situation is. I've seen it before. For example, if I go to California, when I go to LA, I have noticed a pattern of a lot of men who are not interested in black women. Now, one of the things that, first off, I want to say, though, that we understand that this is not the typical narrative. In fact, give me a yes if you or a black man is dating a black woman right now. Give me a yes if you are a black man who is in a relationship with a black woman, or if you know a black man who is in a relationship with a black woman. Give me a yes in the chat. Everybody give me a yes if you believe in black love, if you love somebody who's black and you're cool with being with a black woman. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to be the first one to say yes, because my wife is black. If you go back and you listen to my podcast 10 years ago, I've been doing this, a lot of YouTube stuff for literally probably since about 2012, 2011. Back then, I told you all, I said, I don't know if I'm ever going to get married. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. You're not going to tell me what to do. But if I get married, it will be a black woman. That was a strategic decision. I do not believe that you have no choice in who you fall in love with. I believe I have complete choice. If there are some situations, some women I've met, very nice women who were not black. There's a very nice white girl who in my PhD program who was very interested in me. In fact, she even told me, she said she made a little sexual joke about how she would love to have sex with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I felt like that was her way of telling me, like, I'm down with getting with black dudes. And unfortunately, flat booties and stringy hair is not my thing. And but then just in all seriousness, she just wasn't my type and I wasn't interested. Because here's the thing. Similar to you can really compare it to Simone Biles's husband. I knew I was the prize. I know as a black man, I am the prize, and I know that the black woman is also the prize. And so, because I was the prize, I wanted to save my prize for somebody who was worth it. I said, I'm not. I'm an asset to the black community. I'm going to be an asset as a man. I'm going to be an asset as a human being. I'm going to be an asset as a father. I'm going to be an asset as a husband. I want this asset to go to a black woman, to the black community, period. I did not want to. It's like playing for a football team. If you are a Cowboys fan, you want to put on a Cowboys uniform. You don't want to play for the other team. So that was part of being pro-black was defined as saying that given that I know I'm making myself into the prize, I'm working on self-development, I am educating myself every day, I'm investing my wealth, I'm making myself wiser constantly, I'm in the gym. I want to give that prize to a black woman in a black family, team black people. And but then also my wife was the prize. So I figured that since I worked hard to become the prize, I want a woman who is also a prize to me. And I consider my wife to be a tremendous prize. So I think that generally speaking, one of the biggest mistakes we make when it comes to economics and wealth and true competition and powernomics is we don't think enough about how our relationship choices link to our economic outcomes. Y'all think that getting together with somebody is about cuffing season, about getting some ass, about having sex with the sexiest man you can find. It's about pleasure seeking behavior. When really there's the long game, there's the short game, there's the long game. There's checkers, and then there's chess. Some of y'all are 45 years old, still playing checkers. 45 years old, talking about I met a new boyfriend this week, and I really like this guy better than the last one. The dude's 50 years old, still trying to find a new woman to hook up with for a little while without thinking about the long game. And I'm not. Well, maybe it sounds like I'm judging you, and maybe I am a little bit. Not judging you, I'm judging the decision and saying I think you're better than that. I think that if you really want to compete in this wealth game, if you want to compete in this game of global economics, socio-political competition that exists all throughout this world, this game called freedom and everything else, and capitalism and all that, you got to play the game of empires. You got to play the game of thrones. Some of y'all playing the game of clowns. You can't win the Game of Thrones when you're playing the game of clowns. Seriously, the game of clowns and the game of kids. Some of y'all playing the game of kids and clowns. Like, you know that, man, she got a nice ass, man. Hey, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna hit that, man. You ain't even thinking nothing about legacy. You ain't thinking about trying to build nothing. You're not, really. And what I want to encourage you to understand is that this is part of the plan. This is Massa's plan. Massa's plan is to keep the black male as a child. So when these black women are talking about men that are not stepping up, when they're talking about the men that they're complaining about, I see those same men too. They're out there everywhere. In fact, it sucks to be a black man sometimes because the men they advertise on TV are not the kings. They advertise the clowns. They're not the true leaders. They're not the thinkers. They're not the strategists. They're not the guys making intelligent decisions. They're usually rappers or athletes or whatever who are doing stupid things, beating women's asses, getting high on drugs, got tattoos all over their face because and y'all love them because they made a damn rap album. And next thing you know, these guys are being marketed to the world, and then they're seen as desirable. So young women are falling for the nonsense too. They're dating some of these guys, and these guys are running around like Lil Wayne, getting 18 girls pregnant at one time and gave them all an STD to go with it. You get a baby and a disease at the same time, and then they run around mad saying black men are this, black men are that, and you can't say that. Most black men I know, most quality, solid brothers I know, ain't got nothing in common with Lil Wayne. They might appreciate his music, but they don't look at him and say, I want to be like that. They not walking around holding the cup, tattoos on their face, they halfway. Like, so that's not masculinity where I come from. My father looks at that sort of image and he says that's not a man. What is that? Like, he doesn't see that as manhood. He sees manhood as taking care of yours, protecting yours, standing up for yours, being strategic, being alert, being intelligent. And there are lots of men who think that way. I talked to a black man yesterday. He grew up in a whole family full of drug dealers on the south side of Chicago. And he knows lots of men that are in prison for 40, 50, 60 years, like dozens of them, because he grew up in Inglewood, Chicago, where he was surrounded by drugs and gangs and dope and murder. and he promised his mother he would not get into any of that. Now he makes millions of dollars in an extermination business. And it was really fascinating. We were sitting there and we were talking about the fact that neither one of us drinks. He said, yeah, I don't want to drink because I don't want all those problems that come with drinking. But he used to own a nightclub. He said, I owned the club, but he said, I didn't drink nothing. He said, because I was in there watching everybody and counting my money. I want everybody else to drink because that's going to make you spend money, but I'm not going to drink. And I said, that's my type of guy. You're a strategist. You're a leader. You're intelligent. And I personally think that should be the blueprint for manhood. But you don't get that. You don't get that. What you see is a lot of scenarios where men do stupid things. You get trapped by the vagina, or you get trapped by you're chasing money and women and everything else. And then when the consequences come in, you're like, oh, woe is me. This ain't fair because they did it to me because I'm black. Yeah, well, they also did it to you because you're stupid. They also did it to you because didn't nobody teach you how to watch your back. They didn't teach you how to be strategic and intelligent. And so really, I'm going to say this. I understand the frustration that a lot of men have when it comes to black women. I totally get it. And I think what's unfortunate is that a lot of black women don't see their blind spot. A lot of black women don't see their blind spot because they don't understand what happens to you when 76% of you grow up in a household without your father in the house. That means you have very little experience dealing with a man on a daily basis. You have very little understanding what it means to talk to a man, how to deal with a man, how to protect a man's ego. None of these things. You don't know these things. Only thing you were taught by your hardworking single mom was to go to school, work hard, get you a good job, and then you get to the point. And the worst type of woman, the most unattractive woman in the world to me was that when I was single, the most unattractive woman in the world to me was this hardworking professional woman who spends every day in the gym, who made $100,000 a year and thought she was the shit because she looked good and had an MBA. Literally, that was the most annoying, irritating. I met when I was single. Actually, there was a lady that I thought about dating for a little while. She was very pretty, and she was actually in a magazine for being like. And the crazy thing was, she was in this magazine where they were like, we don't understand how a woman as beautiful and as educated as you could be single. And here's the thing. You only had to spend about 10 minutes with this woman to understand exactly why she was single. It only took 10 minutes of conversation with her to understand why she was single. She was single because she was an asshole. She was like, literally, she was arrogant. She was small-minded. She was very self-absorbed. And because we don't talk about these personality traits when they appear in women, she didn't see any of that. Because in her mind, she's the perfect catch. Why? Well, because you took a picture in a bathing suit and you look good in a bathing suit. Good for you. I don't care about that. There was plenty of sexy women around. I'm looking for a quality human being to spend my time with. I don't want to be around a narcissist or a person who has none of the soft skills required for quality womanhood and quality engagement in a relationship. And I'm going to tell you this. And again, I don't even know. Here's the thing. If what I'm hoping for is that by the time I'm done with this conversation, I will have pissed off enough men and pissed off enough women to know that I'm telling the truth. Right. I do not want anybody in here to say that I agree with every single thing you said, because there's going to be some stuff that I say that's just going to make you mad and get on your nerves. And I get it. And maybe it's because I'm wrong, but I'm going to tell, but my goal is to have a conversation that gets away from this nonsense that men are just walking away from black women because all black women are this, black women are that. That is not true. Some of these dudes that are talking about, I'm a passport brother now, you need to get your passport and you need to make that motherfucker a one-way trip. Seriously, you need to get your passport and just go to another country and stay there and never come back and never, ever tarnish the spirit of a black woman for the rest of your life, because you haven't worked on your issues enough that you're going to go over and traumatize some lady in the Dominican Republic, right? Or whatever, because you've never taken the time to work on yourself. You're not really, some of the men, let's just be honest, some of the men are not really showing up as men. They're not working on what it takes to be a man. Don't have a damn clue. And again, it's not necessarily their fault. Let me tell you what is going on. It's the broken family, y'all. I'm telling you. It impacts us emotionally, psychologically, which impacts us economically. It impacts us economically because you can't form families, and which means you can't really form wealth. It's hard for you to form wealth when you can't form family. So what happens with so many of the men is that missing father shows up in millions of men. There are millions of men who have beards and hair on their balls, who've never learned what it means to be a man. Nobody ever taught them, but it's not their fault. I'm not making fun of them. It's just the truth. I call it the bearded baby phenomenon. Because remember, in America, it all comes back to white supremacy, y'all. And I need you to understand. I hope you're following. Let me know if you're following what I'm saying here, because I know it sounds like I'm going extra deep and talking. It might even sound like I'm talking all over the place, but I promise you, there's a point here. But America doesn't want the black man to be a man. He does not want him standing toe to toe with the white male. He does not want him competing. So what they do is they market these buffoons on TV. I'm talking mostly about a lot of these rappers. Most of these rappers are going to die before the age of 50. They don't take care. A lot of them don't take care of their kids. A lot of them trick off their money like little dumbass bitches. They go around and they rap. They make music about murdering black people. Half of them are gay. Look at all of Diddy's buddies. I mean, hey, seriously, this is not anti-LGBT, but y'all know what it is. There is such a thing as a gay mafia. I know enough people in entertainment to know that this is true. Right? Seriously, when I talk to, I know a lot of famous rappers. I told you Kanye West called me last year. I did not call him. Ice Cube called me. I did not call Ice Cube. Right? These are people they call me. So I know some of these people. And let me just tell you, sometimes when I bring up certain situations and certain people, some of them would just get really quiet. Or I talked to one guy, and he's very famous, and if I said his name, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. But I can't reveal this. But I said, so what's up with Diddy? What's going on over there with Diddy? And all he said, I've never seen him show fear, but he showed like almost like a fear. He said, "Man, I don't know what's going on over there, man, but they got some dark shit going on over there." That's literally how he said it, and I was like, "Whoa!" And I just didn't mess with it at that point. I didn't mess with it. But my point is to say that this is part of the plan. So here's what I'm saying. So you have a black boy who grows up who needs mentorship. Manhood is hard enough when you don't even add the fact that you're black. Manhood is already hard. There's a lot of expectations, responsibilities, things you have to understand how to do things. It's hard. You know, I was on the phone with David Banner, the rapper, one time. And we made a joke. He made a joke and I laughed about it because I agreed with him. He said, "Man, sometimes if I don't know what to do, I just try to remember what my father did in that same situation. I just copy him." And I said, "You do the same thing? You do that too?" Right? So what we got to understand is that the missing father is huge. There's a void. So you're a little black boy. You don't have that father to guide you. You don't have that man to kind of explain the ins and outs of manhood, that training that you need. Now your sisters are getting it from their mother. Their mother is teaching them womanhood from a woman's perspective. Then now what the sister's missing is she doesn't know how to deal with a man, how to relate to a man. Right? Even basic stuff like men leaving the toilet seat up, or our deep voices, or the way we're like around the house, where I leave stuff around the house or whatever. Like even little things like that men might tend to do. She's not exposed to that, so she's going to be shocked by that. The boy loses because he's not getting manhood training. And also it can become even worse if he becomes like one of these man husbands that exist in so many families, where him and his mother form this very unnatural, unhealthy connection, where she's like going on dates with her son and things like that, which I'm gonna just tell you, I don't understand that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think that's very healthy. I think you should be dating a man, not your 12-year-old. But anyway, so then he gets out into the world, and he's kind of going into the world with a weird frame of reference, right? He's going into the world where he looks like a man, and women are approaching him as a man, and he's learning how to do things like have sex like a man. So he's having lots of sex with lots of girls, especially if he's good looking. And then in some cases, you'll see where his mother never really challenges him. Like she never says, like, "Why are you making all those babies and not taking care of them?" Right? Because in her mind, maybe it's the women's fault, or her baby can do no wrong. Or I've seen mothers that will bail their sons out of jail over and over again and never really hold them accountable. But then on top of that, he's learning. Oh, even worse is his images of manhood are coming from these dysfunctional rappers. Do you follow what I'm saying? Which they deliberately will market the dysfunctional rapper before they market the solid black man who has solid ideas. That's why Lil Wayne is seen as an asset. He's all over the media, but Dr. Claude Anderson gets hidden in the background. But let me tell you, Lil Wayne is going to show you how he went out and got 3 girls pregnant at the same time. Dr. Claude Anderson will talk about how he has loved his wife for the last 50 years and raised a solid family and been an advocate for the Black community. Do you understand the difference? Diddy will show you how to be a shiny Negro who talks loud and has lots of puffy parties where only God knows what happens at that party. But Dr. George C. Frazier will explain how he has built a business with his bare hands and been married to the same woman for the last 50 years or so, right? Do you follow? Do you get what I'm saying? Right? So a lot of the dysfunction that you see with some of the men comes directly from what gets marketed to these men. And then even with athletes, I like the athletes. Don't get me wrong. The strength of athletes is that they're disciplined, and I like the fact that they have a voice now. You know, the Brandon Marshalls and Channing Crowders and Shannon Sharps, and all. I think that's good. But the unfortunate side of that, though, is that studies show that athletes have excess amounts of testosterone. So what can happen when men have excess amounts of testosterone is you get what I refer to as hypermasculinity. Hypermasculinity is when everything about manhood is about how many muscles you got, how fast you can run the 40-yard dash, how many touchdowns you scored in the Super Bowl, right? And so so the question becomes, here's a challenging question I'm going to lay out for you. What the fuck can Shannon Sharp teach a Black man about loving a Black woman and raising Black children when he's not doing any of that himself? What can Shannon Sharp really show you? I'm not making fun of Shannon. I'm not. I promise you I'm not. I'm talking about different sides of manhood. I'm talking about getting caught up in the superhero version of manhood where he's catching touchdowns, and he was a great player and he's an awesome guy, you know, but that's not the other side of manhood that says that I'm going to go find me a woman and I'm going to go have some babies and protect these babies and take care of this family and build this institution so I can make sure other people are good besides me, right? You don't see that. I see him. I see him and Chad Ochocinco. They do a great show at night called Nightcap. And in Nightcap, I hear Ochocinco. He made a joke with Terrell Owens about, hey man, remember we went to the Dominican Republic? I think I had sex with 15 women in one night, and there's no conversation. See, here's what a real man would say to you. A real man would say, you know what? Fucking all those women is going to cause you problems, son. All it takes is one of those women to accuse you of rape, and next thing you know, you spend the next 5 years fighting, losing all your money, by the way, fighting against a false accusation, or sleeping with all those women, son. That's going to give you diseases. And then when you finally meet your wife and you decide you want to settle down, you can't settle down because you got, those experiences gave you a gift that you can't give back. That's what a real father, that's what real men do. And I hate to say it like that. I don't want to say that these guys are not real men in their own right. Shit, they kick my ass on the football field. These guys are, the fastest and the strongest and everything else. But again, this goes back to racism and slavery. I hope you're following me. There is the whole image, going back to slavery, of the Black male as the big Black buck. Do you understand what I'm saying? The big Black hypermasculine buck. I'm gonna fuck everything that moves. I'm gonna lift weights, and I'm gonna show the white man. I'm gonna go play for the Dallas Cowboys or the Green Bay Packers and Jerry Jones, and I'm gonna impress Jerry Jones and get him to write me a check to go knock the hell out of other Black people and give them brain damage. Like that, look, that's what, because y'all know what it is. I mean, you know that most football players have significant brain damage even when they play high school football. In fact, who was it that said this? It wasn't Tom Brady. It was Brett Favre. Brett Favre said he was talking to a doctor about the brain damage he had. And he said the doctor asked him, Brett, how many concussions do you think you've had? Brett said, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3. And he said, no, actually, that's not true. He said, how do you know? He said, because he said, have you ever got tackled and seen stars after you got tackled? He said, yeah, on every play. He said, have you ever like kind of blacked out or maybe hit your head and just kind of felt a little bit loopy after you got hit? He said, yeah, every time I got sacked. He said, yeah. He said, so Brett, you probably had thousands of concussions. And so Brett Favre asked the doctor, he said, so what's a good age before the kids should reach before they get to start playing football? He said, do you know what the doctor said? He said, you should never play football. You should never. And this is hard for me because I'm a football fan. I'm such a hypocrite on this. I am the Ohio State Buckeyes, Dallas Cowboys, Louisville Cardinals. Those are my teams all day long. So I'm sitting here. It's hard for me too. I loved all the sports too. I played them all too. And who knows? I mean, again, I would have loved to have caught touchdowns in the Super Bowl like Shannon Sharp. He's a bad dude. But one of the things I can tell you is that when you're really talking about building better men in the Black community, you're gonna have to have all the hard conversations. And I'm gonna tell you like this: if our whole community is full of a bunch of men who are imitating Shannon Sharp, the 55-year-old man who unfortunately is so so jarred and traumatized by commitments that he can't even settle down at 55. He's trying to stay young forever. Right? He's in the gym. He's taking selfies with his shirt off and all. I mean, all this. These are all thirst pics. These are all pictures you take when you're trying to still attract women and show people that you still got it. When deep down, I'm gonna tell you all the truth. As a 55, 56-year-old man, he's double nickel. He said, I'm double nickel. I'm double nickel. At the double nickel, he's still 55 thinking, man, how do I still hang in there with the young guys? How do I stay young forever? How do I Peter Pan my way out of this motherfucker? When the reality is that you're supposed to make a slow transition toward becoming the intelligent, wise elder. You're supposed to become, Big Daddy, Papa, or somebody. You're supposed to transition to that. You're not supposed to be 55 trying to be 25. Kevin Samuels died trying to be 25, dating 30-year-olds when you in your 50s, man. I'm not saying you don't have a right to date who you want. Men are attracted to younger women. That's another biological fact. I know women make fun of men and they say, oh, that's creepy for a man. No, that's not. No, I'm sorry. It's been happening for thousands of years. It's going to continue to happen forever. Rich men will attract younger women because women are attracted to financial security. So just stop that. Stop judging men based on their choices. However, at the same time, I think that men ourselves, if you are into wisdom about manhood, you have to kind of stop letting media and these images and media drive your perception of what it means to be a man, right? Like when I see Shannon Sharp, I see a man, but I also see a broken man. I see a man who is holding on to his youth as the thing that kind of defines him when, he's hitting grandpa age. I don't see a man who's necessarily going to be very good for anybody in the world except for himself and a couple of other people. Whereas I think when I think of manhood, I think of men like my father who protected the whole village. My daddy was a cop. And all the kids in the neighborhood used to come to our house when something went down. When my friend Eddie we were 12 years old, he killed himself. His father ran to our house to get my dad, and my dad was running down the street with a walkie-talkie to go and get the body, right? To go and deal with that situation. He didn't make it. But these are the things that I saw, right? And I personally will say my biased perception of manhood and masculinity is the ability to provide and protect something, right? Even in the animal kingdom, the males that are seen as the most masculine are the ones that can control the most territory, right? That's even with male giraffes and gorillas and lions. The more territory you control, the more territory you protect, the more masculine you're seen as, the more attractive you are. And so effectively, I think that a lot of what you see a lot of Black men who never went through a rite of passage and never learned how to be men. So women that are complaining about men are typically complaining about those men. They're not complaining about all men. Just like Black men who complain about Black women, they're not complaining about all Black women. They're complaining about Black women who never learned how to deal with a man. They're complaining about Black women who are so caught up in feminism that you've consistently reminded men that you don't need them. So men are going to take the message. They're going to say, okay, you don't need me. Fine. I'm out of here. I'm gone. Right. I don't blame them one bit. You keep telling me you don't need me. Well, cool. I got other things to do anyway. I'm going to be over here. Good luck. I'll show up whenever I feel like it, but that's it. And so really, if you really want to talk about this whole sort of relationship thing, I think what really has to happen is this. Let me start here. And before I do that, do me a favor. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. You're watching drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. Also, if you go to drboysbooks.com, you can get a copy of my book, Financial Lovemaking. We also have financial flashcards for kids and workbooks, stuff like that. So if you want to teach wealth to your children, feel free to do that. And all right, so here's what I want to ask you. Give me a yes or no. How many of you feel like you're working on yourself? How many of you feel that you're working, and I'm not just talking about physically, I'm not just talking about going to the gym, I'm talking about working on yourself mentally, working on being a better person. How many of you are willing, or at least willing to consider, if I make suggestions on ways you can improve yourself, give me a yes in the chat if you're willing to do that, right? We always talk all day. This is how you know a biased relationship conversation is when everybody's always talking about what the other party needs to do, but they never talk about what they need to do, right? And I see this. I see men that'll say women need to do this, modern women need to do that. But what are you doing, brother? What are you doing to fix yourself? What are you doing to even make a woman want you? Same thing. Women, men need to do this. Men need to do the Derek Jackson thing bothered me a lot because all Derek Jackson would do is allow women to be comfortable in their misery. He would literally put you in the mud and make you happy being in the mud by telling you that the reason you're in the mud, the reason your life ain't working out, the reason you ain't got the man you want, or the reason that man broke your heart is because something was wrong with him. He ain't ready for a real woman. He can't handle responsibility and all that stuff. That's all that really is people pandering to get you to subscribe to their YouTube channel and to buy their book. That's why I'll never be as popular as these people. I lose subscribers. I piss people off so much that I've seen my channel sometimes drop by 1,000 subscribers because I'm not going to back off the truth, because the truth is not comfortable. The truth is not pretty. So give me a yes if you're ready to do, if you're ready to apply the word accountability to yourself and make yourself better. Okay, so if you're in this category, here's a couple of things I'm going to suggest that you may want to consider. First thing is you got to deal with this trauma. You must deal with the trauma. A lot of you, there's a test called the ACEs trauma scale, ACES, Adverse Childhood Experiences. I'm going to tell you like this. If you're a little black girl and you have dealt with the disappointment of having a father that did not show up for you when he should have, you're traumatized. You need to fix that. You need to deal with that because you're going to keep dating your father for your entire life. I've been dating my mother for 30 years. My wife and my mother, not only are they in the same profession, but they look so much alike that even my wife's mother said that my wife looks more like my mother than she looks like her own mother, right? So you're going to be dating your father for the rest of your life. And if your father's an asshole, you don't want to date assholes, then you got to go deal with your issue. So there are therapists out there that can help you. There are books you can read. Here's another thing too. If you're a woman that really wants to make a man happy, I think you should study that like a class. Don't get caught. I would never get caught up in this nonsense about I refuse to submit. Everybody has to submit to something in a relationship. Let me just tell you, here are a few things you do not want to do if you ever plan to get married. Look, if you can't do it, then just don't do it. Just don't get married. Do a Shannon Sharp. Just be single for the rest of your life or whatever, right? Just don't do it. Like, why waste everybody's time? Have everybody come to the wedding, have them think that you're going to be together forever when you're just not going to do it. So here are a few things you cannot do if you want to be married. I'm just going to tell you this. I'm saying this as a married man. Marriage is hard work. Me and my brother are both married, and sometimes we'll be on the phone like, man, this stuff is tough. I'll be like, yeah, woo, buddy, right? But why do we do it? Well, because it's part of our value system. Our father did it. Right. So you get these things from your parents. So if you are picking somebody who never had a template of commitment, who never saw on a daily basis what commitment even looked like, you deal with a woman who never saw a man and a woman negotiate a marriage for many years. That woman probably won't be so great at the whole marriage thing. She's going to have a lot to learn. Same thing is true with men. You can't live the same and be the same when you're partnered with other people than you were when you were single and doing your thing. It just doesn't work that way. So a few things you cannot do if you ever want to be in a long-term relationship that lasts longer than, say, 2 years. One, you cannot carry your ego on your sleeve. You cannot always be like, well, I'm not putting up with this and I'm not, and I'm getting what I deserve and I don't like these standards and all these women, they just trying to do this and trying to tell me that and trying to tell me that. No, if you want that woman by your side, you better learn to listen to that woman. If you can't listen to that woman, then cool. Just go find you some hoes that will do what you tell them. And that there is another model, right? There is another relationship model. You can get some women that will just do what you tell them and let you do what you want. And that can work too. I'm not saying it doesn't. So it's up to you to make the decision. I'm literally laying out the delineation with no judgment. Okay. So I'm not telling you what's better or what's worse. I'm telling you that you have to kind of think it through. But if you find a woman that you really want, and you really want to make it work, you cannot carry your ego into the relationship. That's just not going to work. Same thing is true with women. Also, if you're a person who always says, I will never submit, then don't get married. Don't ever even try to do a relationship because you're going to have to submit to the relationship on a regular basis. You're going to have to submit to the family. You're going to have to submit to something greater than yourself. You cannot on any level go into a group situation and be a selfish person. It's just like if I play for a football team and I want our team to win, I cannot be a person who says I always have to have the ball. Everybody's gotta do what I say. I gotta always get what I want. Do you understand? Give me a yes. You follow what I'm saying? Next, the third thing you should not do if you want to have a long-term relationship is you cannot be a person who gives up easily, and you should not pick a person who gives up easily. Some of y'all are trying to run a marathon with a sprinter. Some of y'all are trying to form a long-term relationship with somebody who's never ever done anything long-term in their life. You trying to be together with somebody for 40 years who can't even keep a job for 6 months. How the fuck you think you're gonna last 40 years with somebody who ain't never seen a relationship last longer than a year? They did all the mechanics, all the emotions, all the strategies, all the approaches of a long-term situation are very different from these little short hit it, quit it, cuffing season. Like who am I going to date for the next 6 months type situations that people go through in their 20s and now in their 30s and now it's sometimes even in their 40s. I'm not judging. So if you are trying to do something long-term, it's just like if somebody's hiring somebody. If I'm hiring somebody for a job, I have a company, we hire people. One thing I look at on your resume is not just the experience you have, but how long have you been on those other jobs? If you are a person that has had jobs for 5 or 6 or 7 years, then that looks different from somebody who has a new job every 6 months. So if you're a person who gives up easily, then don't do it. Just don't try it. Just accept who you are. Just accept. Right now, you're a person who likes the quick high. It's called phenylethylamine. That's the chemical that goes into your brain that gives you the quick high of falling in love. You're a love addict. They have a term for that. Love addicts are people who love the freshness and the newness of a new relationship where the slate is clean, everything's good, that person's completely wonderful, because really you're walking around doped up all the time. The dopamine rush is so strong from the first kiss, first touch, first sex, first orgasm that literally you're not even thinking rationally until you get to about 9 months in the relationship. That's when you start seeing all the little flaws, right? So the question is, we know you can make phase 1 of the relationship. Can you survive phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, phase 12, phase 30, phase 50, right? Most people ain't built like that. People aren't built like that anymore. They're just not. It's hard in a social media driven world and all that. It's hard to form long-term relationships like your grandparents had because people are different. People have changed. So if you are a person who says, I kind of want to have something similar to my grandparents, well, first of all, you got to show up like that. You got to show up with the same temperament and disposition as your grandma. That's the first thing. Most of y'all can't do that. Most of y'all ladies ain't got what your grandma had. Your grandma had a level of tolerance for male behavior that no feminist on earth will ever agree with. I'm gonna tell you like this. That's just true. But then also, you got to pick a man who has the same strength and tolerance that your grandfather had. Because as much as we want to act like grandma was the only one putting up with shit, granddaddy was too. My father was married to my mother for 50 years. He's still married to her. She had to put up with a lot of stuff. She had to deal with a lot of stuff that would have put them in divorce court in 1977. Seriously. My father put up with stuff. There was times when my father had things he wanted to do. He was like 23 years old and taking care of all these kids. I wasn't even his real kid. If he was on the internet, there would have been dudes calling him a simp. Oh, why are you taking care of that lady's baby? That ain't even your baby. And he had family members that said that. They were like, why that little boy Boyce, that's not your son. Like, why are you taking care of this project lady's baby? Like people would say that. And my father had to have something a lot of men need to develop. Real men, you got to develop this. He had an ability to make his own decision. He didn't let other people tell him what kind of man he was going to be. He lived by a code of behavior that wasn't going to be shaken or rattled by anybody else. He wasn't going to let, he just, and I like that. I said, that's what I'm talking about. That's a man right there. And was it costly? Yeah, it was costly. He probably missed out on a lot of vagina he could have got. He could have been in the street with his liquor, his weed, and his hoes, right? And just did that for the rest of his life. He could have done that. He had friends that did that. And now some of those guys are his age. They're in their 70s and still living that way. It's kind of pathetic now, to be honest with you. They're kind of living in these little broken 1-bedroom apartments with, waiting on the Social Security check to come in so they can buy some more crack for their little hooker girlfriend or whatever. What has been the benefit for my dad? Well, the benefit of my father is, number one, he has my loyalty to the nth. I'm gonna be right next to this man until the day he goes. If he goes first, I'll be right there. I'm gonna give his eulogy, all the stuff. I paid off his house, bought him a truck with cash. Love this man. I honor him on every level. And he has a big family around him that shows up for him when he needs them. You understand? So there's a trade-off. Anything that you have that's good in your life, anything that you want that's good in your life is going to require some level of a sacrifice. Do you understand? Like anything you want that's going to be good is going to take a sacrifice. It's all investing. It all comes back to investing theory. I'm an expert on investing. It all comes back to investing. Investing is hard. So whether you're investing in stocks and bonds, or if you're investing in people and relationships, it's always hard. There's always volatility. There's always other options you could have taken. They call these the shadow cost, opportunity cost. There's always the opportunity cost. There's always, when you are sitting there in this relationship, fighting through it with this person that's getting on your damn nerves, where you're thinking about all the other places you could be, all the other women you could be sleeping with, all the other men that are bringing flowers to your desk that you could try instead of the man that you're dealing with right now. There's always that. And it's always risky because you never know what the right choice is, but you have to kind of pick a code, right? You got to just kind of say like, okay, this is who I am. This is who I want to be. This is how I'm built. This is what I'm sticking with. And you never feel like you have it 100% correct. It's always hard. Okay. And so maybe, who knows, maybe for some of you, my hope is that maybe I can share something that I wish your father had shared with you. And my goal is to really do the right thing. It's not to tell you that your strategy is wrong. It's just to really sort of tell you what I've observed. The other thing you can't do if you want to be in a long-term relationship, you can't be impatient. If you're very impatient, like if you get mad when the kids interrupt you, when you're having an important conversation, just get used to it because that's what kids do. Also, you have scenarios where you want to go left and they want to go right, or sometimes you got to wait out the storm. Like I've learned that too. Sometimes you got to wait out the storm and things get better. You can't react right away. And then the last thing you cannot do if you want to be in a long-term relationship, you cannot go in expecting perfection. You cannot expect a fairy tale. One thing that I've noticed is that there are a lot of people who will get married and they expect year 8 of their marriage to feel like year 1. And that's not the case. Again, I haven't been married 8 years myself. I've been married 3, but year 8, year 5, year 6, even year 3 ain't like year 1. Year 20 is not like year 5. Everything changes. And I think that when people come in expecting perfection, then you might as well just not do it. You just might as well not. I mean, just don't do it. Just don't waste your time. Don't waste anybody else's time. Don't make promises that you can't keep. Just do your thing. The other thing too is I will say this, that if like I did some quick research, and let me give you some quick tips on how to pick the right partner or how to make the relationship work. The words that I've seen are words like communication, a lot of open and honest communication, building and maintaining trust through honesty and reliability, supporting each other, emotional support and understanding, quality time, spending time together to strengthen your bond, and then respecting each other. But then also the way to pick the right romantic partner is know yourself. Just know who the hell you are. Know what are your values. Pick people that are consistent with your values. I think that sometimes when you hear people that complain a lot about Black women or people or women who complain about Black men, maybe part of it is that you didn't choose properly. And I think this is a self-esteem issue. I think maybe in the past, the people that you picked did not have the same values as you. They disappointed you, right? So most of the people that complain about Black women are usually disappointed, disgruntled, angry men. A lot of them, and even when you think about, you look at Shannon Sharp. We were talking about Shannon Sharp earlier. I read Shannon's bio, and I read that there were some issues with his mother. And if you listen to Shannon talk about why he isn't married at 55, because the man's meeting women. He's meeting women everywhere. He's not married at 55. I think it's partly because of what happened with his mother. Whenever a kid is raised by their grandmother, like he was, it's usually because there's something going on with the mother. I don't know what was happening there, but that can create a distrust. So a lot of times people who, if you hear a man talking extensively about issues with women, or a woman talking extensively about issues with men, ask them about their parent, their opposite sex parent. Ask the woman, tell me about your father. And I can tell you this too. If she really hates her father and has a lot of unresolved issues with the father, that's going to show up in the relationship. So I think it's really important to sort of consider these factors. You have no idea how deep it goes. The subconscious mind is very powerful. Also, Make sure the person has similar values. You know, if building wealth is important to you, then link up with another wealth builder. Make sure you have a good emotional connection, mutual respect, and that you're compatible in your communication style. Those are just little things that can help. Also, I will say that generally speaking, you cannot allow the temptation of sex and attraction to drive you to make bad choices. I think the biggest culprit that you see is when you have a society that has infantilized Black people, that has trained Black people to behave like children. We're like little fat kids chasing after candy bars. You know, we're looking at what things that look good without thinking, okay, is this really going to be good for me? Right. And you see it happen a lot. This short term gratification, it happens that it doesn't just happen in relationships. It happens in the food we eat. Look at how fat Americans are. Americans are super fat. Why? Well, because we just shove shit in our mouths. We're not thinking about the nutritional value, whatever. We just think about what tastes good. Well, the same thing happens with sex. A lot of times you are using your sex addiction to numb the pain of the untreated trauma that exists inside your mind, your spirit, and your body. So because you never actually healed from whatever you went through as a kid, you find ways to numb the pain through drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, and food. Those might be 5 things that you use to numb the pain. So this is why I would encourage everybody to consider therapy. Therapy is good for you. Therapy will help you. Therapy. I have a therapist, and I love talking to my therapist because she's an awesome, super smart Black lady that lets me rant about all the things that piss me off in the world, and then she helps me to look in the mirror. And when she taught me how to look in the mirror, I saw things in myself that gave me tremendous insights into who I am as a human being, how I tick, mistakes I keep on making, why I make those mistakes, and where I come from. Most of y'all don't know where you come from. And I'm not just talking about like ancient Africa and stuff. I'm talking about just literally the person you are, the personality you have, the things you do, the habits you have. You don't know where they come from. And the reason you don't know is because they are just embedded deeply in your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is like a little computer programmer that just programs your next mistake. It just tells you what the next move, your next trigger. It constantly, they're sitting there, just little minions programming all the moves that you're going to make that feel good in the moment, that end up putting you in the same situation that you were in before. And then you end up very frustrated. And instead of actually doing that work to figure out what's going on, you just lash out at the world. You get mad at the world. Like all women ain't shit. All men are stupid. Blah, 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 blah. And so let me just tell you, I think I'm gonna tell you, I think all of us need therapy. I think being Black is hard. You know, the fact that think about this. I want you to process this for a minute. 76% of Black children don't even have a father in the house. 76%. Thank you for your comment, Toy. I appreciate it. 76% of our kids, 3/4 of our kids don't even have a daddy. And nobody thinks that that's weird. Nobody thinks that's an issue. Everybody just thinks that's okay. That's par for the course. You think that your kid's going to just turn out perfectly normal like that? No, they're not. They're not. They're going to have a dysfunction. It's built in. It's built in. It's expected. It's like, oh, you're Black. Of course you don't have a daddy. I think that's something that we probably should investigate further because so again, I want to reiterate the reason that I might be talking about this as a finance guy is because when I go and we analyze, we understand Black wealth deeply in the Black Business School. The things that are a mystery to everyone else, they claim it's a mystery because they really don't want to solve the problem. Like the Democrats say, well, we can't figure out how to educate Black kids. No, we know exactly how to educate Black kids. You just don't want to know because you're built on this white supremacist construct that wants to keep Black people blind, deaf, dumb, and stupid, a day late and $1 short. That's what you like. That's what you want. That's the world that you're used to, because when you are helpless, they can show up as the superhero. They can say, well, just vote for me and I can fix your problems, but they never fix anything. Or just come work for me. And, it'll be okay. Or just come date a white woman. It'll be better. Then, no, you're still going to be dysfunctional and fucked up. You'll just be pouring all your dysfunction onto some poor white woman who hasn't been as traumatized as you. And then you're going to ruin her life. Seriously. Same thing is true with Black women that think that they're not the problem. It's Black men. And then you go and you date some white guy and whose family is calling you the N-word behind your back. But then on top of that, he eventually realizes, like, man, God, this lady has issues that are not addressed. And she thinks her shit doesn't stink. And she's crapping all over me. And it's terrible. So seriously, that's what happens. What happens is that dysfunctional people who don't take accountability, they go dump their dysfunction on other people, because the last thing any of us ever wants to do is to actually take full responsibility for the outcomes in our lives. Nobody does that. Nobody wants to do that. It's so hard to do. It sucks. By the way, if you're on Instagram, the Instagram recording is going to end in a minute. I'll just reopen the live so you can come right back in. But it gives me an hour, which is kind of my cue. Like, then maybe I've been talking too much anyway. But I'm gonna keep going for a minute. But seriously, nobody wants to take accountability. Nobody does. They call this. I had a member of my dissertation committee. His name was David Hirschleifer. You won't be able to spell it. It's a long name, but he's super smart. And he wrote some articles about something that was interesting to me. It's called self-attribution bias. Self-attribution bias is where our natural inclination as human beings is to blame others instead of ourselves. It's to take, but we take full accountability. We take full responsibility when it's good. When it benefits us, we want all the credit. But when it does not benefit us, we want to assign all the blame. And one example he pointed out was in sports. Go ask your friend. Notice how when your favorite team loses, they say they lost. But when they win, what do they say? They say we won, right? Anybody else? Give me a yes if you've ever noticed this. That when people's favorite teams lose a game, they say they say they lost. But when they win, they say we won. Well, that's self-attribution bias in a nutshell. Self-attribution bias is basically where people take responsibility for the good things that happen in their life. Like they love to go out and say, look at me, I'm a strong black woman who don't need no man. And look at all these great things I accomplished. That's why I deserve this award. But then when you look at your relationship track record and it hasn't been what you want it to be, it becomes, well, this is because black men do this and black men do that. Right. So it's kind of fascinating that you're taking full responsibility in the areas where you're winning, but you're not taking accountability in the areas where you're not winning. And so what I'm asking you to do is something that's probably going to make a lot of you hate me. It's going to make a lot of people, annoyed with me. I get it. They're like, oh, boys, F you, boys. Like, this is not fun. It's much more fun for me to listen to somebody who's going to Derek Jackson me into oblivion, who's going to tell me what I want to hear. Or somebody who's going to tell me that black women ain't nothing. I need to get my passport and go find me a woman in the DR, right? Or that all black women are gold diggers and their standards are too high and all that. I see all of that. I hear all that. I get it. It's hard. It's easier to do that than it is to say, I think maybe that if I show up as my best and then also I pick people who also are showing up as their best, then that's how we can win together. That's how we can still build a pro-black community, because you can't be pro-black and you're not even interested in dating a black woman. You can't be pro-black if all you want to do is go date white guys. You can't. I'm sorry. I do. This is where I go Omar Johnson with it. You cannot be or how about this? You cannot be 100% pro-black when the most important decision that you make in your life, the biggest investment you make in your life, is going to be outside of the black community. You can't. It's not, So and again, it's probably offensive to people like Byron Allen and stuff like that. And I don't mean to be offensive, but seriously, Byron Allen's billions of dollars are not going to go to black people. They're going to go to, this white lady and her family. And I'm not making fun of it. I'm not saying Byron's a bad guy. I'm not saying he never did anything good. I'm just saying that how in the hell can I say that I'm down for you if the one time when I get an opportunity to show how down I am for you, I go in the other direction. I give you the crumbs, but when I make the big investment, the real investment, I invest my life and my time and my energy and my wealth. I say, oh no, I don't, you're not worthy of that, right? It's almost like having a friend who says, I'm really your friend and I really got your back. But then when you really need them to have your back, they're not there. That's not really a friend. Like that's an acquaintance or something else, right? So maybe instead of being an ally to the black community or an advocate of the black community, you're just kind of an acquaintance of the black community. Like you're kind of down for being black, except for when it's time to really be black. You know what I'm talking about? You know people like that, right? Who really want to be black, except for when it's time to really be black. Like it's like white people do this a lot. Like you'll see white people that they love being black when it comes to like wearing certain hairstyles. They'll have dreads and braids, or being black when it comes to how they talk, or being black when it comes to how they dress, or being black when it comes to imitating their favorite rapper. But when it comes time to really be black, Like you're dealing with getting shot by the police, or you're dealing with the unemployment challenges, or you're dealing with the dysfunction, or you're dealing with the family trauma. They don't want no parts of that. They don't want no parts of that. So you have black people that kind of do the same thing. Like I'm pro-black, I'm pro-black, I'm pro-black. But yeah, but I don't deal with black women because that's just too dangerous for me. And I just kind of think those of you who are kind of above and beyond that, black men who say, you know what, some of these black women are hard to deal with. Some of them have not healed. I'm going to leave those women alone. I'm going to try to pick a woman who has healed. And then even then, if I'm dealing with a woman that I think has healed and she has not completely healed, I'm going to be with her to help her through the healing process. Do you understand? Right? Because what is not discussed is that a lot of times the reason some black women act out is because they've never been in a situation where they could really trust a man. That's just true. They've really been, give me a yes if you know what I'm talking about. There are women in our community, and we should be sort of ashamed of this as men. There are women in our community who have never met a black man in their life on a daily basis that they can really trust that would come through for them. So every time a black man neglects his responsibility, lets his daughter down. My father was one of them. My biological father was like that. My biological father, I don't hate him. But let me just tell you the truth. I don't respect this man. He's dead, and I still don't respect him, even as a dead man. I appreciate him giving me life, but he was a sperm donor. That's all I can acknowledge him for. I talked to my sister about my father. First thing she said, yeah, our daddy, I remember when I realized our daddy was a bum. And I'm thinking, okay, now I understand why black men don't make a great impression on you, because your daddy, the first man you ever loved, the first man you were supposed to trust, that was supposed to come through for you, did not do that. So I'm just going to say that it's all a cycle. It's all connected. It's all connected. And a lot of it is, if you really think about it, it all goes back to racism and slavery and everything else. So to me, there are really two types of black people. There are people that want to deal with the scope of this problem, and then those who don't, right? Those who are really trying to be pro-black, and those who are just kind of like talking about it. You can't be pro-black if you're not willing to deal with the challenges and the problems that exist in the black community. And I don't blame you if you don't. I get it. It's easier to just have a nice, safe, simple life. You can go live, marry Becky Sue and live out in a white neighborhood or whatever and pretend like you're not black anymore and hope that those white people accept you. Hopefully they don't do a Jonathan Majors on you. But I'm sort of in the category of saying, yeah, black women have some challenges and there's a lot of dysfunction there, but that's where I'm from. I can't change. I'm a zebra. I can't change my stripes. This is my community. These are my people. This is what I can't fix that. It's like, that's my family. That's what I can't change that. I can pretend, but this is my family, And the best thing I would say, I would advise good men who want to do good things, is that not all women are the same. So I think that discernment is very important. I don't think men are trained to have discernment. Like when I hear, and this is my concern about some of the males that are providing, pseudo mentorship on the internet, is, when I heard Chad Ochocinco talk about having sex with 15 women in one night, I said, that's not a healthy choice for men. That's not masculine at all. That's very dangerous. That's very unhealthy. It'll land you in jail or in the hospital. It's just not smart thinking. So discernment to me means that you have to value yourself as men to kind of say, look, I'm not trying to go lay down with just any old woman. I'm not trying to end up. You look at Diddy right now, and this is my issue with the rappers and the athletes, is the fact that they are mass promoting the black buck hyper masculinity that is incredibly unhealthy, right? Diddy is losing everything right now because this dumbass wanted to go run and have freak offs and record everything and just do stuff that was way over the top, too much. Bill Cosby's losing everything because Bill Cosby decided he wanted to sleep with 8,000 women when, his wife probably would have let him get away with having 80 affairs if he wanted. I mean, he could probably have sex with 100 women that he was not married to, and nobody would have gave him a hard time. But for whatever reason, Cosby took it to that extreme. Well, why? Well, it's a lack of discipline. It's a lack of strategy. It's men not understanding that every choice you make as a man is going to play a part in whether you survive this fucking thing called life. Seriously, if you don't think about every choice you make, who you're with, who you're doing it with, what you're thinking about, what moves you, what doesn't move you, you will not survive this game. That man, that white man is on your ass from the time you're born. They don't want you to exist. They didn't even want me to be born. They wanted my mother to abort me. I'm lucky to even be alive. And then they tried to destroy me in the school system. They tried to put me in special education. Then they tried it. Then I almost got killed. Then I can just keep going down the list. Then they try to marginalize you. There's so many areas, so many traps they set for you that I personally think that any man who wants to be successful has to be really thoughtful and strategic and very disciplined about his behavior. Doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes. It just means you fix the mistakes. You don't repeatedly repeat their mistakes. And also, you don't want to follow the path of dumbasses. There are a lot of dumb men who just are sloppy with it, and it ends up costing them everything. And I would say the same thing in terms of women. I'm sorry, ladies. I don't think feminism is serving you well. I don't. I think white feminism is ruining a lot of good black women. I really do. I think white feminism, it was built on the gender war between white males and white females. That's where it was built. And they really hate each other. They really trying to destroy each other. They're making power moves against each other. The whole Me Too movement's about power. They pretty much just occupied a movement started by a black woman, Tarana Burke, and they just sort of made it into a white female thing. And they're using it to dismantle the power that the white male has because they have their history. I don't think black women have no place in white feminism. I don't think it works for you. I think that when you're talking about men, the fact that you did not have a father every day in your house probably put you at a disadvantage to a woman who grew up learning how to really respect men. If you really want to catch that quality man and get his love and affection, you got to do more than just showing your booty on Instagram or giving him a little bit of sex. Sex gets real old real fast. Being a quality woman goes so much deeper than how you look, how many degrees you got, and what you can do in the bedroom. And I would encourage any woman who really wants to get a man to really love her and to be in a situation that's going to make her happy. Study men. Study us. Honor us the way you honor white men. Spend as much time learning how to please your man as you spend learning how to please that boss. You'll spend all day you'll go to school 4 years to learn how to please your goddamn boss, but won't spend 1 second learning how to please your man. And then you wonder why men are tired of the nonsense. Yeah, men are. I see it. I see everything the Passport Brothers are complaining about. I see it. The only difference between me and the Passport Brothers is that I know that not all black women are doing this. And I think that they need to stop putting all black women in a bucket. Stop that. All black women aren't like that. And also work on yourself. Those are the two areas. Number one, stop generalizing. Number two, take accountability for yourself too. And then just have some intelligence about how you do your assessment. And be careful when you talk about it. You're talking about the existence of black people. If we stop reproducing, we will die. If we don't reproduce, we don't exist anymore. So you can't be sloppy in this conversation. You got to be nuanced. You got to look at all the nooks and crannies. You know, women who want a man to provide some degree of financial security, there's nothing weird about that. That's not a bad thing. That's how women are wired. That's just like her criticizing you because you want her to look good. You know, you're wired for that. You're wired to look at that big booty and whatever. She's wired to want the security because she's going to be giving birth to your kids. She don't want your kids out here butt naked and broken, struggling and crying and wishing daddy could come through for them. You're going to have to figure out how to come through. And the other thing, too, is that you got to stop committing to this white supremacy, because white supremacy, what it does is it makes black men into beggars. It makes us grow up. We don't understand that we don't have the luxury of depending on a system run by white men to provide us with what we need in order to be solid men for our families. We cannot do that. We have to be entrepreneurs on a more regular basis than other people. We have to. We have to work together. We got to become investors. We have to be smart. We cannot play the same game everybody else plays. The reason black women have better opportunities in corporate America is because white men will hire a black woman before they hire a black man. My wife knows that her being a light-skinned black woman gives her an advantage that I will never have as a black man. She understands that the campus she works on does not have one single African-American male on the entire faculty. Do you understand how deep that is? Hundreds of employees. Not one of them is a black male. Not one of them is an African-American male. Not one. So we understand that my path to success can't be her path to success. I can't just follow along and say, well, I did exactly what my wife did and they treated me different. No, That's shit. That's life, man. Life is like that. You know, actually, speaking of my wife just sent me a text. Let me text her and let her know I'm live. So actually, since I just texted her, she's probably, I think she wants to go to the movies. I think her and grandma and the girls are gonna make me go see Color Purple. Oh God. I hate that movie. That's such a man-hating movie. It was well done, but I get tired of these narratives where black men ain't shit and where black women ain't shit. I hate that. I just think shitty people. I think good people. If you're a good person, let's just finish up on this. Okay, let me know if y'all can still hear me on Instagram. Sometimes if somebody calls me, it kills the audio. Um, let's just do this. How many of you consider yourself to be an asset to the black community? How many of you? Give me a yes. Let's end on a positive note, because I know sometimes when I go down this rabbit hole of this stream of consciousness, I can sound pessimistic. How many of you consider yourself to be an asset to the black community? Type yes in the chat. All the assets out here, give me a yes. And by the way, my wife's website is coachingwithdralicia.com. She's a therapist. If you want to see what she does or you want to set up an appointment with her, feel free. She's very good at what she does. She's one of the few full professors in the country that's a black woman. Very few PhDs become full professors. So she's a badass. Shout out to all the badass black women out here. I ain't threatened by your accomplishments. I applaud all of them. Okay. So if you're an asset to the black community, here's what I think has to occur. I think the good people you have to love yourself enough to draw boundaries in your life and target yourself toward other good people. I think all good people that set standards for themselves should set standards for others. And all good people who set standards for others should set standards for yourselves. Do you follow what I'm saying? This is a basic idea. Accountability should meet accountability. Game should recognize game. Quality should connect with quality. Do you understand? So if I'm going to go around talking all day about how black women need to be accountable, well, then I need to do that after I've held myself accountable. If I think that black men need to if I'm a woman and I expect black men to meet this standard and that standard and this standard, then I'm going to meet you at a standard, not the same standard. Like, so if I say I want a black man that if I expect a man to make $100,000 a year, that doesn't mean you have to make $100,000 a year. I'm not saying that, because men don't care about money the way women care about money. Women and men have different perceptions of money. I know this. I have a PhD in money. So you meeting the standard does not mean, well, I make 100,000, so I expect a man to make No, I didn't pick my wife because of how much money she made. I didn't care how much money she made. But you know what I care about? Well, she cooks really well. I can't cook for shit. And also, she's a great mom. I'm not a good mom. She takes care of the house really well. I'm not good at taking care of the house. If I lived here by myself, it would look like a dormitory. There's different skills different people bring to the table. So what I would just say, it's simple rule. Nothing wrong with this. Nothing controversial about this. And I think it's a good positive way to kind of end this conversation on a Christmas day. I think accountability should meet accountability. And here's the thing. When you've put in the work, you deserve somebody else who's also put in the work. You know, and what that means is that some of y'all, you have some men who put in the work. You worked hard to be a quality man. You're a good man. You want to treat women well, whatever. But then you'll go find some woman in the gutter and then get mad because she brought you down or she destroyed you or she ruined your life. Well, stop shopping in the gutter. Stop shopping. When you're shopping for the mother of your children, you should be shopping in the premium section, not at Walmart. Some of y'all looking for women in the back of Walmart, which might have a strip club back there. So you go into the strip club Walmart, getting your next baby mama, and then you're complaining that all black women ain't shit. Well, because you never took the time to draw boundaries and discernment and to value yourself enough to know that, hey, I'm not sharing my seed with a woman that is not worthy of giving birth to, the children of the king. Seriously, that I really think that kind of weird language is okay. But then also, I'm gonna tell you, ladies, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I have seen multiple women that have literally died, literally been murdered because they linked up with a dude that they picked up at the bottom of the gutter. They got one of these fixer-upper ass motherfuckers, these weak ass, punk ass, broken ass, dastardly ass, unaccountable men, because they didn't want to be arrogant. They didn't want to be too, I don't want to be too uppity, right? So they picked this guy, and this guy just wasn't able to meet the standard. It may be no fault of his own. Maybe he didn't have guidance. He wasn't invested in himself. He wasn't ready for, I don't know. But these 3 women I'm thinking about literally died this way. I'm not even talking about the ones who got their hearts broken. I'm talking about the ones who literally are dead in a grave 6 feet under right now. I can name them. One of them is Robin Simpson out of Houston. Go look up Robin Simpson. Hashtag Robin Simpson. There's a whole petition for her right now, who was just chopped up, stabbed in the face 60 times by her husband in front of her daughter. Her husband had just lost his job. He's a weak ass man who lost his job a year earlier, couldn't take it, and decides he wants to chop up everybody on his way out the door. There's another woman, my friend. I don't have her name. I had her name, but she also was making $6 million a year. She married a man who used to be on drugs, who worked in the phone room or at her business. Like, he answered the phone. He was like a receptionist or something. And somehow she links up with this guy, cleans him up. He has his own business. He's off the drugs. He gets back on the drugs. She's leaving the relationship. He murders her while she's leaving the relationship. She goes out to the car. He shoots her on the way to the car, shoots through the door, and kills her. Happened this year. Not making this up. Another third person, lady named Cheryl, don't have her last name in front of me, was a high-flying professor at FAMU. Was kicking ass, taking names, winning awards, making a couple $100,000 a year. Her husband, I don't know what was wrong with this dude, but he wasn't very successful. He would try to be a lawyer. He failed the bar exam several times. So he's sitting there, and he's one of those men that gets jealous of his wife's success. So he's jealous that his wife is doing well and he's not. And he literally, I'm not making this up, he murders her and kills himself, and they have 2 young children. The children were about 4 when this happened. 4, maybe 4 and 2. Now the kids are maybe 8 and 6. So these children are going to grow up for the rest of their life without a mother or a father, because their daddy was a weak ass, punk ass bitch who didn't understand how to handle his shit. Seriously. I don't know if it was drugs. I don't know if it was a lack of discipline. I don't know if it was his narcissism that led him to think it makes sense. I am sure it's mental illness. Absolutely. Chalk it up. Throw it all in the mental illness bucket. Yeah. I get that. But where I'm telling you, where I come from, men who are having a hard time don't do that. You don't leave your children without a mother or a father because you're having a bad year or you're having a bad life. I just don't understand that. Right. So what I'm saying is, you got to be really careful. I think that being committed to other Black people means you still have to have significant discernment, because a lot of your people are sick. You have a lot of sick people in your community. That's just the honest God truth. I have been hurt in business and in life by so many of people that look just like me. The voice that I am today at 52 is not the same voice I was at 42. When I was 42, I was much more open. I had much more faith, and I believed everybody could be helped and fixed and everything else. I don't believe that anymore. I don't. I still love my community. I love my people. I want to be around my own people, but I want to be around healthy Black people. I don't want to be around people who've been infected by the zombie virus. I just don't. And what that requires is that you have to understand that you can be a good person and still have boundaries. Like Will Smith said that. He talked about that. He talked about being famous and how hard it was because people would just use him and harm him and exploit him. He said, so you have to learn how to fend off the predators and not let your heart go dark. That stuck with me. That's why I'm a fan of Will Smith. I don't care about all the stuff going on with Jada and all that. I'm a big fan of Will. I met his brother, Harry. He comes from a very smart family. I don't care if he's gay and all that. That don't even matter to me. I just like the guy. I like smart people. And so I thought I had to go through that process myself, because we've all been hurt. Like, give me a guess if you've ever been hurt by a Black person. Like, we all get hurt by Black people. We do. And I think that how you handle it, you have to be very thoughtful about this, because you're trying to protect something. You're trying to protect the community. We're trying to build something. We're trying to connect in a meaningful way. We're trying to grow something that's going to be beneficial. We're fighting a bigger battle. The bigger battle is racism, white supremacy, and all the things that want to see us destroyed. So we cannot get out of control in how we express our grievances with each other. So when I talk about the black woman and all the things about black women in general that might piss me off on a given day, I'm very careful, because when I talk about you, I'm talking about my mother, and there's nobody I honor more than my mother. Because when I talk about my mother, I'm talking about myself, because all of us came from a black woman. So I personally think that when we're having these sacred conversations, I encourage all of you to get in spaces where you can have a healthy conversation and not let the toxicity of the internet drive you too far in one direction or the other. Because ain't nothing beneficial going to come out of a bunch of black men getting together and talking about how terrible black women are, or a bunch of black women getting together and saying men ain't shit. It just doesn't, there's no win there. There's no win at all. Okay. So I hope we can agree. I hope this makes sense. I'm going to go. My wife is waiting for me. I think she's going to force me to go see The Color Purple. Lord, please pray for me. I'll do a review for the movie, but God. Anyway, I'm out of here, guys. I hope you guys have a good night. Thank you so much for listening. It was real. I hope you guys are having a happy holiday, and love you very much. And also my book, Financial Lovemaking, you can get a copy at drboycebooks.com. And I'm doing a 30-day financial consciousness training that starts January 1st. It takes 30 days to form a new habit. So we're going to do 30 straight days every morning at 10 a.m. We're going to do a financial lesson, and we're going to use my workbook. It's called 30 Days to Wealth and Power. It's a reflective journal. And every day, we're going to fill out a page on this journal that will give you, after the 30 days are done, you will have a wealth plan, and your financial consciousness will be at a higher level. So the cost for the class is $299. However, you can actually get in free for the live trainings if you just order the book. So if you go to drboycebooks.com, anybody who buys a copy of the book, which is the book is about $24.99, you can actually get 30% off if you use the code book club, all one word. You can join, and you can join for free live. So the $299 would be if you want to get all the recordings, you want to have it for life and stuff like that. But if you just want to join live, just get a copy of the book. You can come in for free. I think you guys are going to like it a lot. All right. So have a good day. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. And Miss Dee, if you watch this video, don't think I hate on you or nothing. Feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to come on your podcast and talk to you. This was not a diss track at all. It's all in love. So I'll see you guys later. Have a good day. I'll see you soon. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.